Trust me, he knows I put him on skates last time. And this time when I put you on skates, I'm gonna leave you frozen like Elsa.
This is Johnny and Jose with Tiger Bomb MMA, and tonight we'll be going over UFC 281 happening in New York, New York. Be mindful of the early stoppages, FYI, but we've got an incredible card, excellent main event, so-so co-main event, and a excellent bout between Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier to see who is the possibly next in line for the UFC lightweight belt. I think it should be Benio Dariush, but we'll see what happens here. Jose, glad to have you back. I know last week it was kind of a last-minute thing for me to kind of record my reactions and my predictions, but are you excited for this card? I'm actually thinking about purchasing it.
Let's say yes, I am.
All right.
I'm actually surprised. Like I said, I originally thought this was going to be like a UFC in Vegas card or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, oh, crap, there's a lot of fights.
There's a lot of fights.
This is the Adesanya card.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, my girl, Carla Esparza's back.
Do you want to publicly state that?
Yeah, and my boy, Weili Zhang, is back. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I mean, to be honest, I think it's going to be a boring main event. I think Adesanya is going to be tentative. I think Pereira is not going to do crap. And then it's going to be like a 5-round boring-ass decision. I think the co-main event is actually going to have a lot more action. And this is going to show just how little everybody, including the UFC, cares about Dustin Poirier, whether he wins or loses,
Well, I just got back from the swampland, so I'm expecting him to be fully immersed in swamp water after this fight.
Yeah, well, I don't want to give away my. I guess maybe I already gave away my picks. But,
yeah, you gave away your picks on the main event. But let's get started because there's an interesting bout for the opener. It's a prelim fight, light heavyweight. We've got Carlos fucking Ulberg versus Nikolai Negumereanu. Currently, the odds have it pretty near pick'em, -120 for Ulberg, the fuckface, and +100 for Negumereanu. Let me just take a look to see if there's any better odds out there. So far, I think that's the best. You might be able to get Negumereanu at a +105, but even money on Negumereanu is not so bad. So when it comes to this fight, if you listen to me, I dislike Carlos Ulberg. Why? Because I bet money on him, quite a bit of money on him, to win inside the distance against the most chinny guy in that division, Fabio Cherant, and all he did was stare at him and run away like a bitch, and pisses me off. So with this fight, though, I have been just taking Negumereanu at plus money the last 4 fights. So him against Alexa Kamer, +200, cashed it. Him against Ike Villanueva, I actually scratched that. I don't think I took him on that one. I did take him against Kennedy, +200, got that one, and then I did bet him against Ihor, and he made easy work of Ihor. And in this fight, as much as I love Negumereanu, the positives of him, he's very tough. He's willing to fight for your money. He can take a punch. He can wrestle. He's got cardio for days. Like, he does not get tired. He seems to get stronger as the fight goes. He's willing to strike on the feet. He can mix it up better than I think Ulberg can. The problem with this fight is that as much as I dislike Carlos Ulberg, he does possess something that Negumereanu lacks, and that's pinpoint accurate striking. So with the striking from Ulberg, as much as I dislike the guy, I have to admit he is very talented on the feet. He's very quick, good striking, very, very good striking. The thing that why I don't say he's got great striking is because of his cardio. Like, he can't necessarily maintain that cardio pace. As we saw with his fight with Cherant, he was very tentative. I got to say, he got a bit lucky against Nchukwi. Nchukwi's chin kind of failed him in that fight. He did land a very nice left hook that kind of wobbled him, and he finished him on the ground. My concern with, taking either guy, especially like laying some chalk on Ulberg, although I do think he's got a lot of ways to win this fight, just kind of staying on the outside, picking his shots, and really like landing cleanly on Negumereanu, who, although is very tough, he kind of relies on that toughness too much. And against a pinpoint striker like Ulberg, I think it might be a bit tough from Negumereanu. So personally, I do think Ulberg. I hate to say it, man. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna stick with my hate of this guy. I'm gonna go with Negumereanu. All I'm gonna say is that I think Ulberg's got a really good chance of winning in this fight. I like the odds on Negumereanu. Anytime I can get him on plus money, I'm willing to take the shot on him, despite me knowing that if he gets hit cleanly one too many times by Ulberg, that could be an easy night for Ulberg. If it gets extended, I think Negumereanu could make it ugly. Like, he's very good at making these fights very ugly, where very talented strikers or very talented fighters kind of look like ass against this guy. Like, I have to say, Negumereanu's kind of had like a weird win streak, though. Like, although he's been winning against guys, even though he's got a win against Kennedy knocked out Ulberg. His last bout where he got the TKO over Ihor did not belong in the cage with this guy. Like, he's just not ready yet. And even Ihor was landing on him. And I'm like, oh, shit, this might be a tough one for Negumereanu. I'll still take a shot on him, even though, frankly, I'm very convinced that I think Ulberg wins this one out of, personal spite. I'm still going to go with Negumereanu. I'm going to take a shot on him. I will bet him, because if this gets extended, I really do think he can put it on Ulberg, make him tired. And even if he's losing the first 2 rounds, as long as he's conscious, I think he can get him out of there in the third. So I'll go with Negumereanu, round number 3, TKO.
I'll keep my opinion short. I'd say stick to your guns and fuck Ulberg.
Yay.
I'm gonna go with Nikolai.
He's Romanian.
No, Nikolai. I'm gonna go with him. Just because of my first comment.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't have more to add. I'm sticking with Nikolai. Actually, I do have one thing to add is don't put any chalk or even any dry erase marker on this fight. This is not one of the fights to bet on this card. This is more of a 50-50 fight, because both of these guys, can win. I don't think one's better than the other. I think Nikolai has a little bit more experience, but we do have fuckface over there at 6-1. So yeah, don't. I mean, we're telling you, we're going with one guy out of spite, but yeah, don't bet money on this fight. That I didn't mean for that to rhyme as well as it did, but yeah. So that's all I have to add to this.
Moving on, a bout at bantamweight. If they can make weight, we've got Julio Arce versus Montel Quick Jackson. The odds currently have it in favor of Jackson, minus 205. Come back on Arce, plus 175. This is another fight where it's like kind of tricky, because Montel Jackson, frankly, to put it short, he should win this fight. He is very fast. He's very athletic, but he makes a lot of mistakes in the cage. Like, let me tell you, when I remember him fighting JP Buys, all I remember is him nearly finishing him multiple times. Going back and rewatching it, I'm like, ooh, this is not a minus 205 fighter against a guy like Julio Arce at plus 175. He was getting put in chokes. He was getting taken down. He got full mounted. Granted, he reversed and he escaped. It was like, dude, like, I cannot trust Montel Jackson. Yeah.
Sorry, just quickly, I have to interject. JP wasn't the only one getting finished and mounted during that fight, I think.
She was in the corner for him. I think that's when she decided it's time to go.
Yeah, she's like, well, I guess I better get mounted and finished hopefully later that night.
For once, right? But yeah, Montel Jackson minus 205. Like, I firmly believe he should win this fight. He absolutely should against Julio Arce, right? Julio Arce, I know he's a very good counter striker. He's a very good striker, period. He's a well-rounded fighter. I like Julio Arce. I even like him in this spot against Montel Jackson, because if you were to put a bit of money on this guy, maybe a quarter unit, half a unit, it might pay off, because, again, Montel Jackson's known to make a bunch of mistakes. I don't know if he takes training super seriously. He's going to have the height advantage and the reach advantage, which, again, it should play into his favor. He does have a wrestling background. It's just, again, like, he makes a lot of doofy mistakes in there, and I don't know how well he's like his training is going. I always worry about his like mentality in there. I do firmly believe he should knock out Julio Arce, right? He's very quick with the hands, with that reach advantage. I think he eventually plants a right hand on him that hurts Julio. He gets taken down, like he gets rocked, gets mounted or whatever, finished on the ground. But if that doesn't happen and Montel just kind of dicks around and tries to quote unquote play with his food, I think Julio Arce, with that excellent counter striking, right, against him and Willie Catch. I had Willie Catch to win that fight. He was looking good for about half a round. And after that, Julio Arce kind of downloaded the information and was beautifully counterfighting. He was just against the cage, just moving around and just countering everything beautifully. And I can see that happening here. So I won't touch this fight at all. I won't parlay Montel Jackson. I'll take him to win by first round knockout. I will not be disappointed in myself because I won't bet him if he lets this fight escape. So I'm not touching this guy. If anything, I might consider putting money on Julio Arce, but I might not actually end up doing that. But if I were to bet, I would take Julio in this one. I just can't trust Montel Jackson.
The only thing I have, my biggest worry is actually his being out for over a year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how rusty this guy is. But yeah, minus 205 for the. Wait, did you say the odds? Minus 205?
Yeah, minus 205, and then come back on Arce plus 175. Yeah.
Yeah, those are still the odds. I mean, Arce is it's not a great deal, but it's a fair deal, I want to say. Just because, again, you don't really know how rusty, Montel Rusty Jackson will be. So this one's probably one to. If you need to, add it to your $1 long shot parlay, then by all means, but don't add any significant amount of your not your purse, your bankroll
to
this.
it.
Yeah, don't add any significant percentage of your bankroll. Just get put in $1, lay it all, pick all your fights and just let it out. Let those juices flow.
So who do you got on this one, Montel?
I'll go with Montel.
This is how we do it.
MJ. Going with Montel. I was going to say one thing about Julio, which was, what was I going to say? Something about Montel. No, never mind. I forgot what I was going to. I think I was going to offend one or both of them, but I forgot exactly what I was going to say. So let's stick with Montel and. Let's move on to Mike and Sungwoo Choi.
Oh boy. Mike Trizano versus Sungwoo Sting Choi, the Lone Wolf versus Sting. Currently the odds minus 155 for Sungwoo Choi, or as some people call him, Cuckboy Choi, and Mike Trizano is plus 135. So this is no, I'm not touching this one. This one is trouble, absolute trouble. When I first kind of saw the odds, I was like, Mike Trizano plus 135. Like, he didn't look too bad against Lucas Almeida. He dropped him, nearly finished him. It's that type of, rose-colored memory that you might have that will completely fuck you if you don't do your tape watch. Because watching that fight again, like Mike Trizano, he kind of falls into that same trap that he puts for himself. He doesn't throw enough, and I really think he got really lucky cracking Almeida in that fight. He caught him with I think a left hook, just like perfectly placed left hook that rocked him, and that was like literally one of the very few strikes he threw. Other than that, Almeida was just kind of steamrolling him, winning that fight quite easily in the first round. Got dropped, comes back, ends up dropping him, finishes him in the third. That's the issue with Mike Trizano, right? Like, he's a very well-rounded fighter, very good point fighter, but he just doesn't have that finishing ability nor that killer instinct in him, which is why I'm picking Sungwoo Choi. But the problem with Choi, why I don't like or even will bet him, is that watching his fights back, he can be a bit predictable, right? He does the same thing. Like, he lunges forward recklessly. His defense is not the best, especially with a very good striker. Like, I can see Mike Trizano having some success against Sungwoo Choi, possibly even outpointing him. The only issue is that with that logic is that Sung-Woo Choi actually throws more. He's more willing to engage. He's got a hell of a chin on him. His fight with Kulabao, fantastic fight. Funny enough, they were booing those fighters in the beginning. They were tentative. Then after that, it became like an absolute slugfest. But he showed some interesting things in that fight. His overall toughness, his willingness to mix things up. That third round, he was willing to grapple in that third round and ended up winning that third round despite getting kind of bullied by a much more chubbier, smaller, faster guy, which was kind of surprising to me. But again, going back to his predictability, he throws the same high kick, doesn't set it up. He lunges forward. He's just, to me, he throws the same techniques over and over that if an experienced striker catches on that, like Mike Trizano, I think he can exploit it. But again, Mike Trizano doesn't often throw too much, so I'm going to go with Sung-Woo Choi. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe second round TKO because Sung-Woo, I think, hits considerably much harder than Mike. It's just that I'm worried that he might fall into this trap of maybe he's wanting to point fight a little bit with Mike Trizano. He doesn't want to overextend himself. I think that benefits him, despite it being like a poor fight IQ type of thing where he overextends himself. But in this particular fight, knowing that there's not a whole ton of firepower coming back at him, it should do him well. There's just too many questions for me to bet it, but I will take Sung-Woo Choi. I think he's just going to do a little bit more than Mike. Mike literally puts himself in a hole, and he doesn't often throw. So I think he's going to put himself behind in these scorecards where in the third round, he might try to like take him down and submit him, which, could happen. So I'll go with Sung-Woo Choi, second round TKO, but fuck hell, I'm not touching it.
All right. Before I tell you who I'm going with, I just have to put out there that I did consider getting a bowl cut this time around when I went to get a haircut because I grew my hair out a little bit. And I'm like, for some reason, I just thought, hey, I think a bowl cut would look pretty good on me. All right, but I didn't get a bowl cut, suffice it to say. But still, I think that's why I'm sympathizing and actually going with. Wait, would you say they call him Cockboy Choi or something?
Cockboy Choi.
Oh,
or Soy Boy Choi.
So
yeah, he's been letting me down, man.
I mean, both of these guys are coming off losses, but the more troubling of the two is actually Trizano's last loss was a KO by Lucas Almeida. And so, or TKO, I guess you might want to say. And it's only 4 months since then. So he might still be a little bit chinny. And considering Soy Boy, I can't get that out of my head anymore.
Soy Boy Choi?
Yeah. He hits pretty damn hard. Not only that, man, these guys are tall, 6 feet, 145 pounds. That's insane, man. So anyway, I think he's going to be a little bit chinny, and I think you're right. I think he's going to be set for the KO or just get the living hell beat out of him for 3 rounds, and maybe survive somehow. So I'm going with Choi, and you know what? I'll go with first round KO. I think he's gonna come at him, and Trizano's gonna be like, Rrr. He's gonna be like, bro, get the hell knocked out of him, and forget where he is. But anyway, I don't know, man. I guess I was in a pretty dark place when I thought, that bowl cut would suit me somehow.
You've been spending too much time in El Barrio in downtown LA. The people trying to sell you shit like, oh. Dos por uno.
Yeah, it's I thought a bowl cut, getting a gold chain, with Christ on it, and one of those thick bracelets, with my name on it, my initials or something. Yeah, man. Oh, and a big belt buckle with an eagle on it. I guess I've been influenced.
You forgot the LA hat with L and A separated, and it's got Velcro on the back. It's like the staple of it.
Yeah, actually, the belt. Funny thing, the Velcro hats are my favorite now.
Ooh, okay. We got to move on now.
Yeah,
let's move on. Next bout, we've got Karolina Kowalkiewicz versus Silvana Gomez Juarez, taking place at strawweight. And currently the odds, I am perplexed by the odds. As you can see, the only picture I can get of Silvana was of her, chesticle area. I would say that's the best part of her. But the odds are minus 115 for Carolina. Comeback on Gomez Juarez is minus 105. Let me see what else is out there. If you can possibly get her at plus money. They are kind of floating as a pick'em right now. Okay. Am I possibly missing something here? So
I would say this is the best, possibly one of the best cards that you've put together so far.
yeah. Well, no, they get way
matchups.
they get way better with the pictures, dude. Don't worry.
Matchups.
But this particular fight, I'm perplexed by it. What with the odds, I would expect that Silvana would be a little much higher favorite. As much as I love Carolina, and I'm a simp for the lady. She's awesome. Goes against the cage, she winks at us. Not much more I can really add to that. Like, I've been a fan of hers for a long, long time. Seeing her on her losing streak was hard. Her getting a win over Felice Herrig was awesome, right? But to ignore the last few years is like, I don't think I can do that again. Like, I thought she could beat certain women. I thought she could beat Jessica Penne, for example. Like, I knew she was going to lose to Grasso. I knew she would lose to Watterson. I knew she would lose to Yan Xiaonan. But I'm like, Jessica Penne, man, she's got a chance. And, luckily, she did beat Felice Herrig, but again, she was retiring. Silvana, she may not have the quality wins on her record, but she does possess the nuclear option, which would be the damn hands. And she possesses a lot of power in that right hand coming from the titties, though, that titty punching power. I just think that at this very moment, it's going to be a goofy thing to say, but Carolina was up here. She fought for the title. Silvana's never going to fight for the fucking title. But even though they're 37 each, right? They're both 37 years old. I've seen Carolina's skill set come down, and I've seen Silvana's skill set go up. And I think she finally surpassed her. So I think Silvana's going to have just the overall advantage on the feet. The striking, you could technically say that Carolina's got more weapons. It doesn't really matter. I think Silvana's going to have that nuclear option in that right hand. And then once she cracks Carolina, it's going to fucking hurt like hell to see her googly eye again, but it might come back, right? She hits that hard. I do not expect Carolina to survive until like the second round. So I've got Silvana first round TKO knockout. As much as I hate to say it, basically I'm picking against my favorite fighters. I picked Jinyu Fry to win last week, and she got viciously knocked out. She got frozen in there. Like, she got cracked once. Her hands came down, and she's just like, I don't know. And then she hit the canvas, and I unfortunately see something similar happening with Carolina. Just that power is going to be the major difference, and I've got Juarez by first round knockout.
Yeah, I was going to say Carolina Googly Eye Kolwalkiewicz. I thought she retired already. I could have sworn she retired.
Well, I think we discussed. We called her, and we're like, "Hey, you got to retire, sweetheart," and she just said no.
Yeah, I mean, she was pretty damn hot back when she fought. What's her face?
The booby woman,
Joanna Jędrzejczyk, for the title. But this was 4, 5, 6, almost 7 years ago. Wait, 6 years ago. Wow, almost to the date, 11/12. 11/12/2016. Wow, that's funny.
I've always thought that she would make a serviceable wife. She's got some good cookie baking hands.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought she looked, nice in a schoolgirl outfit, but I thought she was like, if she could have gotten the title, she would have been like the hottest, definitely the hottest champion in that. But Silvana does have some, pretty good qualities that you've highlighted in the card. But that's about it. I think this is going to be, sadly, I don't know what Carolina's contract looks like, but I think this probably may be her last fight, man. Because ignoring her record for the last few years, losing against Silvana, and getting, even if she manages to motorboat her during the fight or something, I don't think even that's going to be enough to sway Dana White to renew her contract.
Maybe it might be enough if they hit like a north-south position for a good 2.5 minutes of the first round. Dana might forgive the loss and bring her back once more.
Yeah, possibly, but I mean, this would be the fight to do that, actually. But yeah, she's 37. Her skills are, she's been around the block, let's say, both in and out of the octagon, and she's got some miles on her. It's like buying a 2015 Civic with 150,000 miles on it. You got to know what you're getting into. So, but for her sake, I hope she retires because I want to see. I think she still has one good eye, so she's still kind of cute, I guess. Yeah, she doesn't belong anywhere near the octagon. We should do her a favor and just let her, do whatever she wants to do in her middle age. Maybe have kids like Joanna or something, or I don't know. Does she have any other talents that you know
of? Get back to me on that one.
Yeah. But I think Silvana's going to take it here. She'll probably, suffocate her by getting full mount and then just, putting those two things, on her face, and then she'll tap out after, a couple minutes, I hope.
Let's move on to the next fight. We've got Ottman Azaitar versus Matt Steamroller Frevola. We've got Bulldozer Ottman Azaitar versus Steamroller Frevola. And well, how many times is this fight scheduled to happen? A couple times. Like, I've made that stupid joke once before. But we've got a new bout here. This is taking place in 2022. Ottman Azaitar undefeated, 13-0. He's a minus 105, near pick 'em basically. And we've got Frevola minus 115. Interesting. Like, I have to say the odds are pretty spot on just because of the extra variables, right? Ottman Azaitar hasn't fought in 2 years now, almost 2.5. Last win was against Kama Worthy, and Kama Worthy, although he knocked him out in that fight, he's been knocked out maybe 17 other times after that. And Matt Frevola comes back and he knocks the shit out of Gennaro, the generic one, Valdez. He messed him up pretty bad. And as you can see in this picture, we've got Potato Boy over here. What the fuck with this guy, man? Like, potatoes? What the fuck? If you don't know, if I remember the story correctly, he left COVID protocols to smuggle potatoes. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. He was smuggling steroids. But nevertheless, this fight is interesting because we've got a heavy hitting guy who hasn't fought in 2 years against Matt Frevola, a guy who, he's been knocked out by one punch from Terrence McKinney, just a jab, essentially. His chin isn't necessarily the best, but he is an absolute dog in there. He's willing to make things scrappy. He does leave himself exposed. If Ottman can catch that chin, this 2 years or not, all he needs is one good punch to rock him and a couple follow-ups to finish him. My biggest worry is that say I'm betting Ottman Azaitar, if he comes in here, he blows his load against a very tough, scrappy Frevola, those next 2 rounds are going to be a living hell for him because Frevola is going to fuck him up. There's too many questions on this one. I do think that taking, say, the under or doesn't go the distance might be the best option. If you're hedging this one, obviously Azaitar by a knockout would be the best option. I don't think he'll win a decision against Frevola. To win a decision against Frevola is going to be tough. That means that you are hitting the guy and he's not going away. He's not going away. He's going to be coming at you because he knows how to win these fights. I know the guy can grapple. Definitely, he's got the wrestling advantage. He's fighting at home in New York. He's going to want to win this one. It's just can you trust his chin? I'm not too sure. If Frevola was a dog, oh, hell yeah, I would take him. It's really, at this point, a dog or pass come the day that you decide to place your bet. If Ottman Azaitar is a dog, might as well take him. I do think Frevola has got a really good chance to win this fight. He's been studying, he's been practicing, he's been really getting prepared for Ottman, a guy, again, he's undefeated. A guy like Matt Frevola, to hand him his first loss in New York, I think it's going to be a big deal for Matt. It's just that if he can stay conscious enough, I'm going to take Matt Frevola by third round TKO. I think he's going to implement the wrestling early, right? Even if he doesn't get the first takedown, he's going to just be smart. He's not going to come out here like he did against Gennaro and just start slanging leather from the beginning, because he was, oh boy, if he does that shit again, if for whatever reason the crowd just gets to him and he goes nuts out there, he's going to get knocked out. And that's what I'm worried about. Like, he has to fight smart, and I think he wins this fight. But again, Ottman Azaitar can knock a lot of people out. Like, the way he messed up Kama Worthy was, Kama gets knocked out a lot, but the way he was putting those combinations together was pretty impressive. I'm going to go with Matt Frevola, third round TKO. It'll be a good sight to see. I'm more hedging the fact, or betting against the fact, that Ottman's been away for 2 years and he might come in a bit rusty. So I am worried, though. I'm very, very worried. Hopefully Matt Frevola comes in as a dog by the time I'm betting him, but I'll go for Frevola, third round TKO.
I don't know, man. I think he spent the last 2 years away, really upping his potato game. So I wouldn't count him out. This is going to be a crazy fight. But I think after this fight, they're going to call, he's going to change his nickname to Matt Potato Roller Frevola. Because I think he's going to roll, he's going to roll over Ottman. And yeah, man, I think 2 years is a long time, unless he's, I don't know, man. I don't see Ottman as like, the hardest, like a super hard worker. And yeah, man, that potato, the potato controversy, that's just crazy, man.
Yeah.
So I
think
he's,
potatoes, man. It could have been anything else. It could have been like, oh, I wanted to smuggle in some porn or something, just anything that would make more sense. But fucking potatoes. All right, man.
I'm like, get the hell out of here, man. So Potato Boy is, I think, going to experience his first loss, and I think there's going to be, his. We're going to start to see his decline, going forward. And it's going to start here. I think the crowd's definitely going to be against, behind Matt, and I think that's, it's just going to be crazy. It's going to be a crazy night. So, I think he's going to be too rusty, too starchy, to do anything, and he's just going to get potato,
too starchy.
Yeah,
right.
It's going to be too starchy. I don't know. Now I'm trying to come up with potato jokes on the fly, but that's all I can manage now. So I'm going with Frevola. Frevola. I don't think a lot of money is going to come on the Azaitar, but I'd say go with Frevola. But this is one of those be very careful card. Don't put this on any of your parlays that you actually want to win. But just take it with a grain of salt, whatever the hell that means. I still don't understand what that means. But wait, did I even say who the hell? Yeah, I'm saying
Frevola. Right? You picked Frevola to mash Ottman Azaitar.
That's right. Yeah, he's gonna. He's not gonna smash. He's just gonna mish.
Moving on, next bout, probably my favorite of the fight cards. We've got Andre Petroski versus Wellington Turman at middleweight. Oh boy, Rose Namajunas isn't happy about that tattoo there, commie bastard. But we've got Petroski as a -210, -210 for Andre Petroski against Wellington Turman, +175. So what fascinates me more about this matchup are the odds. Why is Petroski that high as a favorite? He gets a submission over a guy who's, I don't even think he's in the UFC anymore, in Nick Maximov. I mean, he catches him with the submission. And now he's a minus 210 against Wellington Turman, a guy who's fought much, much better competition, who's been in there, fought 3 rounds. Frankly, despite him not winning every single one of his fights in the UFC, he's looked much more impressive to me than Andre Petroski. Yeah, just getting a 1 submission win over Nick Maximov does not a 2 minus 210 make, you know what I mean? So the thing with this one is that Petroski does possess the wrestling advantage in this fight. He's a very powerful guy. He definitely has the submissions, the choking game, the anacondas, the Darce chokes, the guillotines. He's got that in the bag, but his cardio is absolute dog shit. You know what I mean? Like against Hu Yaozong, I picked Hu Yaozong to beat Petroski. I'm like, Petroski's gas tank sucks. It just so happens that Yao Zong sucked even more than his gas tank. And even Yao Zong, was able to get away from some chokes from Petroski, was able to recover from full mount. A guy like Wellington Turman, he's 26 years old. The guy's still improving. He's made some boneheaded mistakes. Yes, he has back knee, but so did Rory McDonald at one point. It's just that I think that he's coming into his own now. He's coming into his prime, like slowly easing himself in there. He's not the best fighter, but he's got a lot of credentials. His ground game is very good. I think his cardio is going to be much better than Petroski's. It comes down to he has to fight very similar to the Misha Serkinov fight. He has to be the aggressive one when it comes to the grappling, take his back, perhaps tire out Petroski on the feet. Even on the ground, if he gets taken down, don't overreact. Just kind of attack from top, tire out Petroski, make him do all the work for you, get himself tired. Second round comes out, by that time he's going to be depleted a bit. And that's where you start doing your best work, start attacking the body. Eventually, I think the head's going to open up. And I do think Wellington Turman has a chance to finish Andre Petroski. Petroski's probably his own worst enemy because he likes to go fast and he spams a lot of lefts and rights, but he doesn't really set things up. If he comes in here much more, intelligent, he doesn't, waste a lot of energy immediately. Yes, he can definitely beat Wellington Turman. I just think it's not going to be as easy as his last 2 fights, right? Against Michael Gilmore, was it? Yeah, he was able to easily out wrestle him. Same thing with Huge Dong. God, he's a tall guy, but he gave him some trouble. It's just that I just don't trust Petroski's gas tank or his manageability of that gas tank. And I just really think at plus 175, Turman has a very good chance to really put it to this commie bastard. So I'm going to go with Wellington Turman, round number 2 TKO. I think it might happen just like that. Petroski's going to have a very good round number 1, like very, very good, nearly catching Turman in submissions. Turman gets out of them. Petroski's going to tire himself out, probably tire out his arms. I wouldn't put it past Wellington Turman to maybe give up his neck and, defend correctly, tire out Petroski's arms. Like he's training with Teixeira, obviously the former champion in Glover Teixeira. I just think he's going to come in here very well prepared, and he's going to really exploit that gas tank of Petroski and eventually finish him either second round or early third round. So I'll go with, again, Turman to finish Petroski. I say TKO because that would be more impressive, but I wouldn't be surprised if he submits the guy. So I'll go with, again, Turman, second round TKO.
I'll also go with Turman, but mainly because just like communism, Petroski only makes sense on paper.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And also it's a really good deal. Him being at plus money. So yeah, I think he's he's training at Teixeira MMA and Fitness, and so I'm pretty sure he's getting some of that ground and pound advice from Teixeira. And yeah, I think he's hopefully learned from his doing getting a split decision from Sam Alvey. I mean, that's embarrassing in itself. So hopefully he's learned from that.
Let's not talk about that one.
Yeah, so hopefully he's learned from that, and he's gonna get fight somebody on his level that he can actually. I think he can beat him.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. Despite, I think a lot of the people who voted on Topology are saying that Petroski's going to win. I don't think so. I don't believe he is.
No.
Yeah.
I
So
mean, he definitely can, but it's just it's not that cut and dry. I don't think so.
No, I think he's got the experience to do so. So I think Petroski's, he's going to be eating turnips this winter after this loss.
Oh man, I hope no one puts it in the comments that like he only got the tattoo to honor his grandpa or whatever. I don't give a shit. Rose Namajunas doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, it's better dead than red. Right?
That's right. Let's move on to a much more interesting bout. And by much more interesting, I mean
unless
not at all.
One last thing to add, better dead than red, unless you're brother love, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I just had to throw that out there.
You had to.
Because I was going to forget, and then that joke was going to be lost forever. So.
Perhaps it should have been. But next bout, we've got Aaron Cold-Blooded Blanchfield versus Molly Meatball McCann. Those odds are tempting. We've got Aaron Blanchfield minus 390, come back on Molly Meatball, plus 310. It's so tempting to take Molly Meatball. Like every logical bone in my body is like, yeah, Aaron Blanchfield. It's just going to go for those takedowns, rinse and repeat. Molly McCann's been submitted before, but there's a little extra variable on there, which makes me think that maybe Molly's got a good chance to beat Aaron Blanchfield. But Blanchfield was having a lot of trouble in the first round against that girl. What the hell's her name? JJ Aldrich. The boxing was really there. Her boxing is not all that great. Blanchfield's. I will say though, her kicking game's not all too bad. Right? She didn't look terrible on the feet. She didn't look, like a fish out of water against JJ Aldrich, who is a much better kickboxer than herself. It's just more so spamming takedowns, right? Is she going to get every single takedown against Molly McCann on the feet? It's going to be a bit of trouble against this very confident McCann. Like she is really on top of the world, right? She got her sponsorship with Barstool Sports. Her and Patty Pimblett are like, doing everything together, right? Training together, going around the country together. They have it all going on for them. The spotlight's on them. Like she's got that hype around her as well. For her to be a plus 310 is kind of like throw a bone, at least my like a plus 200 or so. But I'm willing to take the odds on Molly McCann for a couple reasons, right? Like she's a powerful girl. She's going to be, oh my God, her arms are going to be shit in this fight. She's got a 62-inch reach compared to the 68 of Aaron Blanchfield. Ooh, it's tough. I really think it's tough to kind of justify Molly McCann winning this fight, other than the fact, she's training with Patty Pimblett, who himself is an excellent grappler, very similar to Aaron Blanchfield, but, better because he's a dude. And if Molly's been working her takedown defense, if she has been putting in the hours with Patty, which I'm assuming she has, I think she's got a good chance to kind of keep it on the feet and let her hands go and then try to catch her with that spinning elbow. She possesses a lot of power in this division for, being a meatball. I always wondered though, is Meatball because she's kind of short and chubby, or is it because she worked at Subway and that was like the only thing that she was eating at Subway? But fuck, like I'd rather not touch this fight. I might put a couple dollars on Molly McCann. It's just that I can't trust either girl, right? Aaron Blanchfield, she's undefeated in the UFC. She got beat by Tracy Cortez by getting kind of smothered on the bottom. I just think that Aaron just possesses a lot of options for danger. Like her striking's getting better. If she can just kind of point fight from the outside, use her reach, use the finger pokes and whatnot. Yeah, it's going to be a tough fight for Molly to get on the inside and kind of let her hands go, because the moment she gets inside, she can get clinched up by Aaron and then probably taken down. And then once it hits to the ground, I don't give her much of a chance to like either get back up or, survive any of the chokes or the submission attempts, because Aaron Blanchfield, she's only 23. She does have a pretty solid jiu-jitsu game. Submissions are on point. I just think that Molly's got a good chance to beat Aaron, be it slim or whatnot, like maybe a 20% chance at plus 310, I can take a chance on her. But if I'm being honest, I think Blanchfield wins this one. Like, there's just too many opportunities for her to clinch up and go for the takedowns, right? And Molly, I think after maybe the second takedown, she might kind of get in her own head a bit, and it's going to be cold-blooded night. So I'll go with cold-blooded Aaron Blanchfield by a decision, but I will be putting a bit of money on Molly McCann just to go for it. I do think she's got a decent chance against Blanchfield because Blanchfield's, again, her boxing's not all that great. It's just at that reach advantage. After looking at it, I'm like, ooh, it might be really rough for her to close that distance. And if she does, I think a clinch will really benefit Aaron Blanchfield. So Blanchfield by decision.
I'm actually going to put this in perspective, and the way I see this is like, the female flyweight Verdum versus, Fabricio Verdum versus Ben Rockwell.
Oh.
No, Ben Rockwell, so you got like, jiu-jitsu ace versus, where's she from again? She's from England. I thought she was Irish or something.
Nah.
Yeah, so it's, just basically jiu-jitsu ace versus a meatball, essentially, is what it is, like a meatball with arms. And so she's gonna, try whatever she can to stay on her feet, because literally, if she goes to the ground, she's gonna get rolled one way or another. So, I guess, that's where the meatball choke was supposed to come in. I didn't figure out how to integrate that, but that's pretty much it. So, her best bet is to stay on her feet. If she can remain on her feet for the entirety of the 3 rounds, I think she'll probably win on points. But Aaron, I think eventually she's going to get her down. I don't think Molly has the greatest cardio, and she definitely proved that against, let me see. I lost quite a bit.
It was Tyler Santos.
Was it Tyler? Okay.
Yep. I remember you were fucking pissed.
Yes.
We didn't know. We didn't know at the time.
Yeah, I believed in her when I shouldn't have, and this is no different because remember, this is women's MMA. And so that lack of a 6-pack, it's nothing really to believe in. But you might want to add this to your $1 long shot parlay, but stay away from this. This is women's MMA. After all, the odds are great. Even if you think Aaron is going to win, the odds are fucking insane. Minus 390. That's what the flying fuck?
Too many opportunities for Molly just to throw something stupid and knock her out. Like, I would not like that. Like, fuck. I really thought Rodriguez was going to win last week, and then she gets fucking standing TKO'd because she didn't know how to fucking put her hands up. Pissed me the fuck off, dude. I was so pissed. I'm like, this stupid bitch. I was so fucking mad, dude. I'm like, and then people were like, oh, that's a bad stoppage. I'm like, yeah, she shouldn't have let herself get fucking stopped. Put your fucking hands up, you stupid C-word. Cunt.
Yeah. Might as well just say it, yeah.
Yeah, fucking bitch. And then she has the fucking audacity, oh, that was a bad stoppage. When I'm like, bitch, put your fucking hands up, you stupid idiot. Like, for me, sometimes I'm like, dude, I get so fucking pissed off when I'm watching these like fights live, like when I'm judging them too, and these the referee, like, I'm seeing this guy getting his fucking head pounded in, and then the ref's like, that's it, and then he's like, what the fuck you stop? I saw a guy get fucking pissed after I saw him take like 6 knees to the mouth, and he got pissed off because they stopped it. I'm like, maybe you should not be blocking these with your fucking face. Oh, dude, just all the rage came back after watching that fight when she's just like, ugh. Yeah, she didn't, like, literally none of the punches that Lemos landed. They were just like, but she was like, ugh. I'm like, you fucking idiot, don't do that. Yeah. Anyways, I went on a rant there about last week.
Yeah, it'll probably be the same, and fuck, this has all the red flags of, not including this in anything you want to win. So I'm going with Erin. I think she's going to win. I don't know if she'll be able to submit her, because Molly can be a little bit of a, slippery meatball at times.
Maybe a spicy meatball.
Yeah, depending on whether flames are coming out of her ass. But yeah, stay away from this. Either way, I'm going with Erin. I'll say by decision. I don't think she'll be able to get the submission here. But who knows? She might surprise everybody. But still, it's lose. This is one of those just lose. I think it's lose, even if you win. So even if you manage to choose the correct, whoever the hell wins in this fight, it's still a losing proposition, because down the line you're gonna be like, oh yeah, Erin's the next ace, and then she shits the bed, in her next fight. Same thing with Molly. It's both of these are really unreliable, so I'd stay away from it.
Well, let's move on. We've spent too much time on them. Next bout, light heavyweight. We've got the return of the once former almost light heavyweight champion of the world, Dominic the Devastator Reyes versus Ryan Superman Spann. The odds, ridiculously enough, minus 225 on Reyes, come back on Spann, plus 190. This one to me was it's such a like, ooh, fuck, those odds are terrible. Like, I do think Dominic Reyes wins this one if he comes back. If he comes back to any part of himself that was, fuck, how do I explain this? Like, if he comes back not fucking stupid or retarded, I think he wins this fight. If he has taken too many shots and he should have retired after that last knockout from Jury, we're gonna find out pretty quickly, right? Like, the skill set of Dominic Reyes from what 20 shit, his last win was against Chris fucking Weidman 3 years ago. Oh man, that's concerning. So you have two ways of looking at this. Chris Weidman, at the time, decent enough. He beat him. Then you could say that he potentially beat John Jones. I still think he did. I thought he did enough. But then what, he lost to John Jones, the light heavyweight coat. Then what, he lost to former light heavyweight champion Jan Blachowicz. And then he lost to current light heavyweight champion Yuri Prochaska. So he's fought 3 light heavyweight champions and lost to all of them. You could say that, that type of resume, despite him losing to those guys, is better than what Ryan Spann has been fighting, right? He's lost to Anthony Smith. He beat Ian Kutalaba. He beat Misha Serkinov. Of course he did. And he lost to Johnny Walker. He shouldn't have lost to Johnny Walker. Ryan Spann, big guy, hits hard, good submission game, just very strong fellow, right? He's going to have the reach advantage here, 81.5 compared to the 77 for Dominic Reyes. He's going to have a height advantage. He's obviously been fighting much recently than Dominic Reyes. That layoff, nearly a year and a half, is either a curse or a gift for Dominic Reyes. I really think that he needed at least a year to recover from that awful spinning back elbow that landed on him. For real, like, it was so bad I didn't even want to use it as the picture here, because it was fucked up. It's just tough. Like, minus 220 on a guy who got knocked out his last fight. We don't know what he's going to look like. I know he's been kind of training all over the place, trying to get his career back in line. I think if the Dominic Reyes, like maybe 80% of the original Dominic Reyes comes in here, he should beat Ryan Spann. Spann is just too chinny. I think the movement, the kicking game, the power of Reyes can land on Ryan Spann and finish him and just kind of get some of that momentum back. It's just that I just can't trust Dominic Reyes to place money on him. I will pick him to win second round TKO. There's just too many questions behind him. Like, I do expect him to come back and look good enough to beat Ryan Spann. I'm hoping he looks fantastic. I want to be impressed by him. I want to see him mix things up. I want to see all that time away being used to propel his skills. And I think I do think that at any point before the loss to Prochaska, he would have fucked up Ryan Spann. But after that was an awful knockout. And maybe a nice little dink from Ryan Spann puts him out or puts him on Bambi legs. So we'll find out. It's just that I'm rooting for Reyes. I'm really rooting for him. So I'll go with Reyes, second round TKO. But again, I'm not touching this one. It's just too many questions. Reyes could look like absolute dog shit in the first round. Ryan Spann's just kind of teeing off on him. He survives. Second round comes out. He throws a kick up the middle and knocks out Ryan Spann. Type of shit. I don't want to deal with that kind of stuff that night. So it's too much stress for me. So I'm not touching it, but I will take Reyes by second round TKO.
I think we've actually seen this in the last few months, I believe, and that's Luke Rockhold. I think Reyes' chin is gone at this point. Not that Ryan Spann is actually Superman, but I think he's going to have enough power to put him away. I think Reyes, whatever his contract looks like, they need to get him out of there, man, because this guy's going to, I don't want him to end up with, brain, more brain trauma and whatnot. Yeah, because he still thinks he's the champion. He's going to walk in there with the belt, and yeah, it's crazy, man. And so, yeah, a year and a half, even after being knocked out, it's still, yeah, man. I really don't want to see him, become the next Luke Rockhold, because Luke should have stopped fighting even before the Jan Blachowicz fight. Same thing with Reyes. Reyes, that should have been his last fight. Should have been his, his absolute last fight, especially in the UFC. I don't want to see him. I mean, he seems like a nice enough guy, and I really don't want to see him get knocked out, or him become a highlight reel for Ryan Spann, because who the hell wants to do that?
Yeah,
it's like that. It's like being that's the equivalent of being a highlight reel for like Tim Sylvia or something. Like years later, you're like, hey, look, Tim Sylvia highlight reel. You want to see this? and then you see yourself. You're like, God damn it.
That's how Andre Arlovski feels.
Yeah, man.
Like, this fucking guy knocked me out. Fuck me.
Yeah, man. It's and so yeah. So I'm taking Spann. I think it's a pretty good deal, I would say. But even better deal to sweeten the pot would be to take Spann by KO. That would probably give you like plus 250 plus 300 odds or something.
Not a bad idea.
Put a little bit there. But yeah, I'm taking Spann. I think Reyes is going to come out strong. He's going to come out with the kicks, try to mix it up. But in the end, he's going to, he's going to take it like a, $20 hooker on the chin.
Well, moving on. Lightweight bout, which is the prelim main event. Interesting. We've got Renato Moicano versus Brad Quake Riddell, minus 125 for Moicano. Come back on Riddell, plus 105. Very good bout. It's a tough one, really, because too many variables with this one. Moicano, he got his ass completely fucked against Dos Anjos that last fight. I mean, it's to the point where, like, I don't know about you, but watching that fight after, I had money on Dos Anjos, firmly had money on him, like, oh, we got this, right? Like, he was a pretty good, deal. To a certain point, you're just kind of rooting for Moicano because he's getting his ass beat so badly. They're just like, you can do it, Moicano. I'm like, oh, fuck the money, you can do it. That was a beating, but like in the later rounds, he was really trying. He was really trying to win that fight. And Brad Riddell, he's fallen on really tough times. He got knocked out by Fiziev, that spinning back kick that just landed on him perfectly. And then he got submitted by Jalen Turner. The questions I have about Brad Riddell is his chin, really. Like, he got cracked with that kick, right? That spinning back kick completely, it messed with him really bad. Like, watching his eyes kind of glass over, it was kind of concerning. Like, man, like, that's not good. 6 months later, he gets hit by Jalen Turner once, kind of rocks him a bit, and he gets guillotined. So is Moicano going to hit him and, guillotine him? I'm worried about that. Is Brad Riddell going to crack Moicano and that accumulative damage is going to just finally crack that chin. There's just too many questions with this one. I do think Moicano, overall, his skill set is more dangerous than Brad Riddell. I know Brad Riddell, he's a stocky guy, a great kickboxer. He's going to have a slight reach disadvantage by about less than an inch reach disadvantage, but he's going to have a height disadvantage by about 4 inches or whatnot. It's just too close to call for me. I do think Moicano should possess the better skill set. He should be able to mix things up. If it goes to the ground, he's very dominant on the ground. If he can get Brad Riddell on the ground, that is. I'm just too worried about each other's chins. I'm going to stick with Moicano. I think he beats Riddell by a decision. It's just, again, like, is Moicano going to throw an uppercut or something and crack Riddell and finish him? Or is Riddell going to get in close and crack Brad Riddell? Like, the only thing I can say is that Moicano looked pretty decent up until he got knocked out by Fiziev. He was kind of holding his own. So, his striking, I think he's going to be able to compete with Brad Riddell for a bit and then, mix it up there. It's just, again, I'm too worried about each other's chins, the cumulative damage on both. It's a coin toss, but I will go with Moicano mainly because if push comes to shove and he gets hurt, you can at least shoot for the legs and try to recover. So I'll go with Moicano by decision.
I'll keep mine short, and I'm also going with Moicano. I'm going with Moicano just due to Brad Riddell not being Volkanovski. They're still trying to push all these New Zealand guys on all the Izzy cards, and these guys are not Volkanovski. They're not going to be anywhere near Volkanovski. And so I'm going to stick with Moicano. He got his ass beat by Dos Anjos. Funny, he got his last two losses are to the two Rafaels.
Yeah.
Dos Anjos and Fiziev. It's
is Brad's middle name Rafael? Well, maybe.
Yeah, I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, I mean, he may train in Phuket, Tiger Muay Thai, but he's no Fiziev. So I think Moicano's got it. He's got it in the bag.
Well, before we begin with the main card, just like, share, subscribe, follow us on Twitter, and whatever, all that pussy YouTube stuff that you have to do. But let's get started with the main card. Daniel Hooker, the Hangman, versus Prince of Peru, Claudio Puelles. Motherfucker gets 2 knee bars on subpar fighters. Now this fucker's the Prince of Peru. But minus 160 for Dan the Hangman Hooker. Comeback on Puelles is plus 135. This fight intrigues me, right? Because Puelles, he's 26 years old. He's on a good streak right now. He's only lost twice. He's been knocked out once, and he's got that dangerous leg lock game. Like, he's very, very athletic. He's got the good kicks. I can't remember if it's a right or left high kick. Very, very nice. He's 5'10". He's coming into his own. I've faded him a couple times just because I do think there is a way to beat the guy. It's just like, who's going to be the guy that implemented? Like, I stuck to my guns similar to with Charles Oliveira. I'm like, there's a way to fucking beat this guy. And Islam finally stopped being a little bitch. He's the only one of those guys who wasn't a little bitch and followed up on the ground with him. And similar here with Puelles. I don't know what it is about the guy, but he seems to invite people to take him down. And that's like the dumbest shit you can do. Dan Hooker, immediately when this fight was announced, I really thought back to Dan Hooker's early career in the UFC. He fought a guy named Ian Entwistle. And I went back and I rewatched that fight because Ian Entwistle at the time was kind of like a dangerous leg lock guy, heel hook and such. He gets Dan Hooker in a heel hook pretty deep up into a certain point. Like, Dan Hooker defends fairly well. And in that 50-50 scramble, he starts unloading elbows on Ian Entwistle. And I'm like, ooh, maybe that could happen here. Maybe Dan Hooker can, scramble enough, has enough defense. He's got the long legs. He's a strong guy himself. Maybe he can create some sort of position where he can crack the fuck out of Puelles. Going back and rewatching that fight, I'm like, maybe that's not the case because, The heel hook is way more different than the knee bar. Once that knee bar gets fully extended, you ain't got shit. The heel hook, you can kind of survive it a bit. You just have to be smart. Um, the biggest factors, of course, are Dan Hooker. Is he, washed up or not? His last win was against Nasrat Hakparas. He got beat by the current champion, Islam Makhachev. He dropped down in weight for whatever reason and fought Arnold Allen, and Arnold Allen finished him. He looked terrible in that fight. He made the weight. It just, to me, was a very bad move. Like, that was the sign of a desperate man, trying to regain some sort of like edge advantage. Like, is there something going on with Dan Hooker? Is he just not the same? He's going to be more durable at lightweight. I just worry too much about Dan Hooker's like mental state. He definitely needs a win. And against Claudio Puelles, I do think that Dan Hooker's got a very, very good game to beat Claudio Puelles, keeping it on the feet, stuffing the takedowns, right? He's going to have a good reach advantage, like 3.5 inches. He's going to have a 2-inch reach or height advantage over Claudio. And Claudio, shooting for the legs, Dan Hooker, that's his thing, right? Like, everyone wants to take his ass down, but he's a big fucking strong dude, and he can sprawl very well. I think if he keeps it on the feet, he's got a very good chance to decision Claudio Puelles if he doesn't finish him later on. Claudio, he kind of slowed down after, wrestling a lot with Jordan Levitt. So I'm intrigued to see how this fight goes. There's always a good chance to take Claudio by a submission because of, his dangerous leg lock game. But to me, I think Dan Hooker wins this one by a decision. And I just fucking realized I didn't change that goddamn picture. There it is. Fucking moron. But yeah, I'll go with Dan Hooker to win this one by a decision.
Yeah, man. I'm also going with Wait.
I got
Sorry,
Hooker.
did you say that you're going with Hooker?
I'm
okay.
going with Hooker just because I think Claudio, he's a bit like I hate to say, like, maybe a one-trick pony. I don't think he can hang on the feet with Dan, but I don't know if Dan's all there, right? I'm taking the shot on Dan, like, even though it's like laying chalk on him, I might not bet it at all. It's just, I just get this feeling that Claudio isn't going to like what happens when he tries to take Dan Hooker down.
I'll stick with Claudio. I'll take a shot on him. Not great odds. I think they should be better, underdog odds, like plus 200 or something. But if you take Claudio by submission, I think it'll increase it to like plus 200. That should be interesting.
Yeah.
This isn't probably another one that you don't want to add to your parlay if you want to win it. Yeah, I think this will be probably the only submission on the main card if it happens. I think it will happen. I think Hooker's on his way out, man. Yeah, he is just not. Let me see. Let me go back to his record.
It's not the best.
He has not lived up to his potential since he lost to. I guess it started with Maximo Blanco way back when.
Dude, you're going way back.
Yeah, he lost to Yair Rodriguez, Jason Knight, Edson Barboza.
Oof.
And then it's been a pretty steep decline since losing to Dustin Chandler. He beat Skinny Gastelum.
Well, yeah, it's not a good look, right? But then again, he's fighting. He's look who he's fighting though, like title challenger, Poirier, Chandler, Nasrat Hakparas, then champion Islam, and then future contender. I think Arnold Allen's going to fight for the title one day. And the only guy in there that's not championship material is Nasrat Hakparas, which I would put Claudio Puelles in that same camp. So I'm like, is it the level, and that's the type of shit, is it the level of competition that Dan Hooker's fighting, which is super fucking high? This is a huge step down in Claudio. It's just that, again, have those fights taken a toll on Dan Hooker? We'll see. The guy is notoriously tough as fuck, right? He can take a beating. We'll see what happens, right? I'm not putting all my eggs in Dan Hooker. It's just that.
One thing I think nobody's taking into consideration is he's never fought a prince before. So
well, perhaps.
he's yeah. So I think he's set for his third loss in a row. Sucks for him. He's gonna be a pretty good contender in Bellator or
Oh man, don't say that.
or one championship. He could be a
Yeah.
future champ. Lightweight and featherweight for one championship since it's closer. The promotion is closer to Australia. He's probably gonna be BFFs with Mighty Mouse and whoever the hell is in one championship. Yeah, I think he's on his way out, man. Hooker's gonna have to resort to walking the streets if he doesn't, get his shit together. He's gonna live up to his name.
Well, let's move on. That depressed the shit out of me. The fuck? Is that your penis there?
I wish.
All right. Moving on. Frankie the Answer Edgar versus Chris El Guapo Gutierrez. So, bantamweight bout. This is Frankie Edgar's retirement bout. He's fighting in New York. Wouldn't it be beautiful if he just wins this fight? The crowd cheers him. He cries, takes his gloves off. It'll be a beautiful moment, right? Against Chris. Oh, shit. I can't even think of something proper to say about Chris Gutierrez. Chris split custody Gutierrez. If you know, you know, even though I fucking hate that saying. But the odds currently have it minus 210 for Gutierrez. Comeback on Frankie Edgar is plus 180. Oh, shit. As much as I want to believe in Frankie Edgar, it's just really tough. This is a very tough matchup. When this was announced, I was like, oh, shit, this is a winnable matchup for Frankie, right? It's definitely a fight he can win because Frankie, he slowed down a bit. He's not as durable, but he's still goddamn skilled. He's 41 years old, but he still has every bit of the same skill that he had, years ago. Because he's fighting smaller guys, fighting at lightweight, becoming champion there. He made that look easy. He had some rough outings there against Gray Maynard, but he made those fights easy when he was coming up at lightweight. Going down, not the best option for him at certain points. He went down to featherweight, fought Jose Aldo a few times. And I do think about Jose Aldo against Frankie Edgar when I think about this fight against Frankie and Chris Gutierrez. Gutierrez's leg kicks are absolutely brutal. They are a game changer, right? Not to say that he has the hardest leg kicks. It's just that he knows how to place them, and he's very clever with them. He's very smart. He's got great movement. He's got great takedown defense. He's obviously not at the level of the guys that Frankie Edgar's fought. I don't think he has the best fight IQ. I think he is susceptible to kind of getting taken down or, let me rephrase that. He does have good takedown defense, but I just think that he is capable of falling for the veteran tactics of Frankie Edgar. I think Edgar's got a very good route to victory. It's just going to be very tough against Chris Gutierrez. Like, he's going to have to take an ass whooping from Chris. Of course, Chris by knockout would be the logical thing, really, at those odds. I think most everyone believes that, Chris Gutierrez, this would be his defining moment, knocking out, retiring Frankie Edgar. But I'm not going to count out Frankie Edgar. Am I going to take him to win? I might put a few bucks on him just as of like a sign of respect. But I do think Chris Gutierrez should win this fight by knockout. He should finish Frankie Edgar in the second round. First round might be a bit tough. He was taken down by 125er in Cody Durden, but Cody Durden is not 41 years old. It is going to come down to what Chris Gutierrez does, right? Like, this is a moment where I can see him pulling a stunt. Like, he should win this fight. He is the better fighter right now, right? It's just that Frankie Edgar has a way of making people make dumbass mistakes. His last win was against Pedro Munoz, where Pedro kind of let himself lose that fight. Will that happen with Chris Gutierrez? It's a possibility, right? I never count out Frankie Edgar. Do you remember? I'm sure you do, but when we met Frankie Edgar in Vegas, right? And I'll never forget this, because this is probably the last time I will be able to tell this story, but we meet Frankie Edgar. and he had been there for fucking hours, right? We found out that he was in the Hard Rock, and he was doing like a signing between like, I'll say it like between noon and 3, and we were there like at almost 4, and he was still there, and there was not much of a line. Luckily, he saw us. There were still people there, so I go up to him, and I think in line you told me a joke about like, oh, you turned Gray Maynard into Purple Maynard, and I was like, oh fuck, I'm gonna come up with something clever to ask him. And the only thing I can think of, because I know he was tired and he'd been there for hours, I was like, hey, do you ever get tired like of seeing the fans? And I'll never forget what he told me, because to this day I still think about it. He said, never. I was like, oh shit. You know, he 100% meant it too. He's like, he doesn't get tired of dealing with the fans. And since then I was like, this is a bad guy right here. He's a bad motherfucker. Like he stayed until everyone was happy, and then he never bitched, never complained. And we've met some dudes that were like there for 20 minutes and we're making faces, and Frankie was never that guy. He's always been kind of a standout guy. So we've seen his fights in the past where he gets rocked, he gets dropped, and he comes back and he ends up winning the fight. It's going to be a tough one for Frankie. Again, this is Chris's fight to lose. He should win this one. But I would absolutely love to see Frankie Edgar get his win, his retirement bout in New York, and just like a beautiful send off for the former champion. So hoping, rooting for Frankie, but I've got Chris Gutierrez realistically by second round knockout. Hopefully he doesn't fuck this up. Again, this is his spot to win, and for his child to look up to him wherever he is. But again, Gutierrez second round TKO.
Really, the only thing I remember from that trip is getting in a rear naked choke.
Yes.
And feeling Misha Tate's chesticles on my back. I haven't washed my back since, so there we go. Yeah, man. Here, my heart is with Frankie, but you gotta go with Chris. Like Frankie, I think he's been in it way too long. He should have bowed out a while ago, but this guy's a warrior, man. He's, it's like when he had the titles way back when, he was the man. This was, wow, well over 10 years ago already. And yeah, he beat the hell. Well, he beat BJ and he beat the hell out of Gray. And then, I think he got fucked by the Benson decisions and whatnot.
They were close, yeah.
But still, he beat Oliveira, man, way back when. Charles Oliveira. Yeah, I don't remember that, but okay.
It's crazy, right? Like his resume, like looking at it, is super fucking impressive.
Yeah, and he beat the shit out of Yair Rodriguez, and Yair Rodriguez, it's like, what the fuck has he done? He hasn't done shit.
Dude. I was there too, dude. Another reason why I love Frankie Edgar. I fucking hate Yair Rodriguez, and I was in Dallas, and everyone's like Bandera, like in Spanish and shit, and I'm like, they don't know what's coming for that boy. And Frankie Edgar ran a train on that boy, and everyone was fucking silent. And I was telling the Mexican ladies next to me, like, ¿Qué pasó con Pantera? Like, what happened with your boy? And they just fucking quiet. I'm like, that's what I fucking thought.
Yeah.
He submitted Cub Swanson twice, like, man's a absolute G.
Should have been like, go choke on some tamales.
Oh, dude. Yeah.
But yeah, man, Frankie, like I said, I would love to see him go out with a win, but I don't think Chris is the guy. Chris is on the come up. I think he's going to be a contender probably in the next 2 years. He's still got to win though.
Yeah.
And if he wins impressively here, unfortunately for Frankie, it's just going to mean, it'll be great for him to, go out with a win in New York City, eat a cannoli in the middle of the ring and, just say his goodbyes. But I don't see that happening, unfortunately.
Yeah,
not against Chris.
Rarely happens, man. But then again, I'll bring this up. Chris Lytle finished title contender in Dan Hardy in his last bout. And I think he's the only guy I can remember that, left the UFC, retired on a win. Chris Lytle, tough son of a bitch, beat a very tough guy in Dan Hardy at that time. But I don't know, man. I frankly, I would put Frankie Edgar above skill-wise, Chris Lytle, Frankie Edgar, and in certain cases, Chris Gutierrez. But this is 2022, man. You got to be a little bit realistic.
Yeah. Sucks for Frankie, but he's got a great, he's had a great career. He's held the title. He's fought, the who's who, and he can go out with his head held high. Hopefully, unless he gets knocked out, which I don't think he will. But I really don't see him winning this fight. Unfortunately, they should have, they should have rematched him with what's his name, the caveman,
Clay Guida.
Clay Guida, for his last fight. That would have been, he probably could have won that for sure.
Oh yeah.
Or they should have brought back BJ Penn for his retirement fight.
Oh man, I don't think BJ's allowed back in the UFC.
Yeah, so
Jesus, he would not pass the USADA testing.
Yeah,
his medicals.
Fight, yeah, the next fight I'm interested in really not talking about because I could really care less because both of these guys. I'll say this: both of these guys are just going to end up. It's like I think both of these guys are going to end up fighting and losing to Islam at some point.
Well, let's talk about it right now. The next bout, Dustin the Diamonds Poirier against Michael Iron Chandler. I always fuck that up. Iron Michael Chandler. So currently the odds are -200 for Poirier, come back on Chandler +170. So I have to ask anyone out there if you remember, because I vividly remember this and I cannot find the video and I've been dying to find it, when Chan Sung Jung, the Korean Zombie, submitted Dustin Poirier. Fight was over. Dustin Poirier's in the back. Somebody's, interviewing him. He's talking about I trained so hard, and he starts fucking bawling. I've never forgotten that because I'm thinking to myself, what a little bitch. You know what I mean? He's just crying like a little bitch in front of this lady. Before you say, oh, you don't train and you've never blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. But if you remember that, let me know because I cannot find it. I always thought it was really funny. But with this particular bout, Dustin Poirier versus Michael Chandler, I fucking hate this matchup because I'm a big Michael Chandler fan and it is a bad matchup for him against Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier, obviously, as much as I dislike the guy, he's as of late, he's been kind of rubbing me the wrong way. He does possess, a lot of qualities that can give Michael Chandler a lot of problems. Like Michael, if you go back in the day, absolute killer, nuclear option in that right hand, right? Like if he cracks you cleanly with that right hand, he's putting you out. Doesn't matter who you are. It's just that as of late, he seemingly has absolutely regressed in skill, right? He's not as quick as he was. He's an absolute fucking beast who is 100% passing all of his USADA tests, goddammit. It's just more so that Father Time is catching up with him, 36 years old, and he's not able to get the takedowns like he used to. He's not able to, connect cleanly with that right hand. His defense, boxing wise, has always been frustrating. Dude, put your fucking hands up. Everywhere else, he's an absolute killer though. His wrestling, I can guarantee you, he will take Dustin Poirier down at least once. But what happens after that, right? If he's out in the open, I just think that Dustin Poirier possesses the better boxing, the better defense with the boxing, the submission threat, on the bottom. If he absolutely, I will say this, Michael Chandler is not going to get blown out of the water. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Michael Chandler isn't just going to go out there, get hit once and lose, right? He can definitely come out here and win rounds off of Dustin Poirier. It's going to be really tough against Poirier, right? Poirier, he's going to have the, height advantage, reach advantage, youth advantage. Honestly, durability advantage is just going to be too tough for Michael in this one. I am absolutely rooting for Michael Chandler in this fight, 100%. And I've said this in the Discord. I'd rather lose money on Michael Chandler than win money on Dustin Poirier. Fuck Dustin Poirier. I do think Michael has a very good chance. He just has to fucking fight smart. Implement your wrestling, but not sloppily. His last fight against El Kukui, him getting dropped by a washed up El Kukui, and this motherfucker is washed as fuck, right? That fight with Nate Diaz was just like it should have never happened. It's like it was hard to watch. Oh boy. And even though he was winning some rounds in that fight, it was hard to watch. If that guy is dropping you, I hate to say it, Dustin Poirier is going to finish you. I'm going to go with Poirier round number 1 TKO. And it absolutely hurts me to say that because, Chandler is one of my favorite fighters ever to watch. This guy is phenomenal. Like he puts on a show always, especially in the UFC. And I really hope he makes Dustin cry in the middle of the cage. But it's going to be a tough one for him to win. So I'll go with Dustin Poirier by a first round knockout.
I was on mute the whole time, but yeah, I was giggling like a schoolgirl when you were talking about how he was crying about how he trained.
Yeah, like I trained so hard. I'm like, oh my god, dude! Like,
yeah. Okay. So I'm going with Dustin by decision. I don't think he'll be able to knock out Chandler. I think they're gonna play grab ass for 3 rounds. But I think he's gonna get the better, the more volume. I think Chandler's gonna get hard shots, but Dustin's gonna get volume. Now here's gonna be the interesting thing. Dustin, I think he's gonna end up fighting Islam at some point. And he's going to be the only guy to get rear naked choked in all of his championship fights.
Oh, fucking oh, heavens.
And so, yeah.
I mean, I guess there's a consolation prize if he does beat Chandler. That would be it.
Yeah, he's going to mark my words. Yeah, he's going to be the what he's gonna get what do they call it in soccer, the hat trick or something?
Yep.
Trick. He's gonna have the hat trick in MMA of getting rear naked choked by every champion that we've had since Khabib.
Oh, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
God damn, dude, you have no idea how like. I'm contacting some voodoo priests. Let's just say that I'm hoping for a Michael Chandler win. But oh man,
it'll just be funnier.
I said this to the people in the Discord for the Tiger Bomb MMA Discord, which you should join right now. I said I would record myself like my reaction, like I would record my reactions in the past. But I am so afraid of like dropping so many like racial slurs. when Poirier gets knocked the fuck out, and I'm like, it's gonna be useless. Like, you fucking swamp piece of. But yeah, it won't be that tame. It'd be way worse than that. But we'll see. I might put that up. I just have to bleep it out.
Yeah. So my next one. I'm going with Poirier by decision. I don't think he'll be able. Like I said, I think they're gonna play grab ass and maybe try to fist each other, but I don't think, I don't think it's going to go further than that.
Let's move on. Co-main event. We've got Carla Esparza versus Weili Zhang. What are the odds? What?
Yeah, that's what I said.
Fuck.
Dude, I'd say jump on this now.
Oh shit. That's like one of the very few like legit unexpected laughs. We have Carla Esparza minus 360. Come back on Weili Zhang plus 280. What the fuck is this? Is James Krause behind this, dude?
Jump on this before the betting guys realize like, wait a second, they're dyslexic.
No, this has to be a Tapology fuck up because. All right, let's be real about this. Weili Zhang minus 360, come back on Carla Esparza plus 280. Oh, man, that was a good laugh. I was like, this can't be right. What the hell's going on? I don't know if you knew about this, but like James Krause is kind of like on Twitter watch because Derek Minner, a Nebraska fighter, a fighter that I know personally, kind of, he lost very quickly. And then the funny thing about it is that his betting line kind of skyrocketed. Like his opponent Shailin Nerdenbecka was like a minus 200. Day of the fight, it goes like to like a minus 400. Like all that money came in on Shailin Nerdenbecka. It's like that's kind of weird. That doesn't happen often. Like what's going on? The first kick that Minner threw, it injured him. And then the second kick that he threw, he kind of goes back and he gets finished. So it's like, what the fuck? So now it's under investigation. So that's like the first thing I thought of. I'm like, somehow James Krause is behind this one. But that's more like interesting talk than the actual fight, because Carla Esparza, as we both know this, she's going to land that right hand of hers on Weili Zhang, whose chin has just been completely diminished over the last few fights, and she's going to retain her strawweight title. Like it's pretty cut and dry, right? Like she's got this history of dominating Chinese fighters, right? Like what did she do to Zhan Jiaonan? She absolutely ran a USA train on her, and I think it's going to be much of the same here with Weili Zhang, and it's probably for the best. That way we can get Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza 3. The first fight was excellent. The second fight, I think, blew that one out of the water, and I'm excited for the third fight. And enough dilly-dallying. Weili Zhang's going to fuck up Carla Esparza. I do think that if by any chance you can get plus 280 on Weili Zhang, I don't know if you can get a triple mortgage. Like I know you can get a second mortgage, but get a triple mortgage on your house, bet it all on Weili Zhang. There's no way she loses this fight against Carla Esparza. Yeah, Carla Esparza's got the wrestling. Weili Zhang's got some pretty impressive wrestling as of late. You know, she's picking up Francois Ngannou, and she's a pretty short girl. She's a pretty short girl. Yeah, I think she wins this one pretty easily. I don't think Carla has anything for her. I think Carla's going to panic wrestle. It's going to be kind of like when Joanna fucked her up. I think Weili Zhang's going to really mess her up. And yeah, good thing she took pictures of the belt on her wedding, because that's going to be a good reminder of when she no longer has it. So I got Weili Zhang to win this one. I'm going to say round number 2. Round number 1, you know, Carla's tough enough. But yeah, I think Magnum's going to put a bullet in her in a second.
Yeah, I think she's gonna have flashbacks to her wedding when she's getting pounded.
No. You mean when her husband is ordering shit off of the catalog and says that he has a headache?
Yeah. And yeah, man, that's crazy. I mean, I would even go so far as to say, put what is it, the KO prop on Weili Zhang. It's gonna bring it up to like plus 300. Add her to your parlays, plus take out another mortgage and add that to the KO prop. Yeah, man, I can see Carla. I can see Carla now getting pounded on her wedding night, not this fight. But yeah, it's gonna be sad to see it, because I like Carla. She did the underdog thing and took the super long way back to the title. She won it unexpectedly. But it's going to be kind of a round robin thing where Weili's going to win it. Then Rose is going to come back and win it from Weili, and then Carla's going to come back and win it from Rose, and then so on and so forth. So we're going to see, another Rose Carla rematch down the line, another Rose Weili, and another Carla Rose, and so on and so forth. That'd be funny.
That's depressing.
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to the main event, because no need to talk about this one. Main event of the evening, we've got Israel Mama Bird Adesanya versus Alex Boatan Pereira. And this one, man, like I fucking love this fight. Not for the WWE style fucking long booking of it. The fact that they fought twice before in kickboxing, Izzy eventually entered the UFC undefeated, wins the bout undefeated, and Alex Pereira comes in after like an impressive, knockout streak, knocked the shit out of that guy in LFA, comes in, has an impressive winning streak himself in the UFC, and, I don't want to say necessarily climbs the ranks, but he does enough to win a title shot. And we've got the rematch, right? We've got the rematch it's just beautiful. It's beautiful storytelling, long booking. So with this fight, being that it's no longer a kickboxing matchup, we've got two kickboxers fighting for the UFC title. That I don't think that's ever really happened like to this magnitude. What's very interesting are the odds. -180 for Adesanya, come back on Pereira, +155. So when you look at that +155 right off the bat, you're intrigued as fuck, right? You can take a shot on Alex, just straight. You don't have to put a prop on him to win. It's just like if it stays on the feet, he's got a good chance to win this fight by decision or by a knockout. For Adesanya, on the other hand, we know much about him as of late. Like, is he going to knock out Pereira? As of late, he's not necessarily been knocking anybody out. Is he going to knock out a guy who has just as good as kickboxing credentials? And he maybe not, so maybe taking him by decision would be an interesting prop. And these guys are absolutely like identical. 80-inch reach for both, 6'4" for both. Poatan is slightly older. The power advantage goes to Pereira. The, versatility and defense goes to Adesanya. When it comes to just the striking acumen, Pereira, he's kind of meat and potatoes, but he's very, very smart with how he places his punches. He doesn't often throw too much, but when he throws his punches, he makes them count. Like he's a very intelligent guy. And again, this guy's made out of some sort of fucking Brazilian magma rock or something. This fucking guy hits hard, made out of fucking shit, man. He's a terrifying guy. What's interesting and funny enough about Pereira is that he's from what I've seen, like interviews and talks and shit, he's always calm. He doesn't seem like he's upset. He doesn't get upset, but he's absolutely fucking terrifying. Like, you don't want him to be mad at you. You're like, oh fuck, I'm done. And quite the opposite of Israel Adesanya, right? Like, this fucking guy is a weirdo, man. He jacks off to anime. It's just, I think it's going to be a very interesting fight. Not because, of course, Alex, I think, is going to knock him out. I'm hoping for that to happen. It's going to be a much more different fight than what people are expecting. I think, Jose, you said it earlier. You predict this to be kind of a boring fight. It very much has a possibility of being a very boring fight. There's this talk about like, oh, I was on Twitter and they're just like, oh, you've never seen the kickboxing matchups. You don't know how close it was. I fucking watched them both, and they were close. They were very close. The first fight was closer. Alex did, I think, enough. He did enough to beat Adesanya the first fight, just kickboxing. Adesanya has, I think, more diversity, dexterity, better reach, better distance management than Pereira. But Pereira, I think if he moves forward and he throws enough, he's got a way of winning on that front. They're just kind of throwing enough to win, while, Israel's more of a defensive guy, but when he moves forward, he can be very devastating. The second fight, which was, to me, Adesanya's best look yet. Like, he definitively won the first round. Second round, he actually did hurt Pereira, right? That whole, like in the intro, where he's like, oh, have you frozen like Elsa? I had you on skates. Yeah, he did hurt Pereira. But what did Pereira do in that third round? Like, he was more aggressive. In that second round, Israel was very aggressive. He was actually landing. That's not something Israel tends to do as of late. And another thing to keep in mind is the gloves, of course. Like, you fucking guys know this, right? Smaller gloves. But in that third round, as I was alluding to, Pereira did something different than he did in the first two rounds. He was much more aggressive, and he was putting his combinations together. He threw an overhand right, which Israel eventually blocked, left himself wide open for the left hook, which knocked him out clean. And that's what I mean about Pereira. Like, he may not be throwing a lot, but he's very cerebral with what he's throwing. Another thing that you have to keep in mind is Pereira's been training with Teixeira for a long time. This guy's not necessarily just a striker in the UFC. He is going to be mixing it up. I expect him to go for takedowns. I expect him being a big, strong guy who cuts a ton of weight. Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the pictures, but this guy is as big as Galactus. This fucker's bigger than the universe. This guy, if he gets on top of Israel Adesanya, if he goes for his own takedowns, like he mixes it up, shoots to the legs, takes down Izzy, which he's not expecting. And granted, yes, Izzy's got some good takedown defense, but he's been fighting guys that are significantly smaller than him, like height-wise, like Jared Cannonier, Robert Whitaker, Marvin Vittori. Vittori is a thick, stout guy, but he's not as tall or as powerful as Pereira, and Pereira could really catch him off guard. Same thing with Adesanya. Like if you were to just say he's going to stay on the outside, kind of throw kicks, which I expect him to, just keep him from the outside, be fucking boring. I wouldn't be surprised if he takes down Pereira. So there's just so many options for each fighter to kind of fuck with the other one. And it just really comes down to their game plans day of. And that's why I feel like I might stay away from this fight, because there's just too many opportunities, right? Like to me, Israel Adesanya, he's a champion for a fucking reason. As much as I don't really like the guy anymore, he's been pissing me off as of late. Says a lot of corny shit now. Like in the beginning, he was fun and whatnot, but Alex Pereira right now would make the division a lot more interesting, right? Like honestly, if Pereira wins, there are some great matchups for him to prove his championship status in certain fights by a certain number one contender, if you know what I mean. That would make potentially his title run very short. So I would be rooting for Alex. I'm hoping Alex wins. I'm going to take Alex to win in the 4th round by knockout. I do think if he mixes things up and comes in here intelligently, again, he's got Glover Teixeira on his side, in his corner. That is a great mind to have in this fight, right? You're expected to kickbox. If he goes for a takedown, goes for submission, I fully predict Alex will go for those submissions, go for takedowns himself. That would really mind fuck a lot of people, in my opinion, because everyone's expecting this killer to come out there Terminator style and try to knock him out. He might even say that in the press conferences, and then he goes out there, mixes it up, and he shows off his grappling, which I've seen him. He's not too bad. And again, if he's training full time with Teixeira, it would benefit him to mix things up and fuck with Israel Adesanya, because on the feet, I think it's very close. I will give Israel Adesanya whatever a slight edge is above a slight edge. I think he's just better on the feet in MMA right now, just with the distance management. But again, Alex can really shine in this matchup by mixing things up. I don't know if Israel's going to have the ability to take down Alex Pereira, but it would benefit him as well. I'm going to take Alex by 4th round, as I mentioned. He did mention that his favorite submission technique is the anaconda, so I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for an anaconda. This fucking Brazilian savage comes in here and anaconda's the fucking champion. It would be incredible. But I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket of Pereira winning by knockout, right? Like I'm very aware of how good Adesanya is. I'm not doubting him as a champion. I'm just fucking tired of watching him and not performing, coming out to the fucking Undertaker's theme with an urn, and he performs like absolute bullshit. Alex would not do that. Like he doesn't talk a lot. He just performs and he knocks people out. So I'm hoping he does that in the 4th round. But yeah, let me know what you think, Jose, because this one is very cerebral to me. I think it's going to be pretty boring for the first few rounds, like you mentioned. It's just more so who's going to be the one to mix things up first, and I'm thinking it's going to be Pereira.
Sorry, man. I had to start dinner. It's getting late over here. I'm starving.
All right.
So I'm going to keep this short. I'm going to take Alex over Mama Bird as the upset. But I think they are going to play grab ass. Israel's just going to do his thing where he avoids. I think it's going to be somewhat Izzy versus Yoel Romero to a certain extent. But I'll take Alex in a long shot.
What round?
They won't. I think just by decision.
By decision. All right.
Yeah. I think he'll maybe put out a little, or try to put out a little bit more volume. And then I think he's falling a little bit too complacent. So hopefully, getting hit in the face a little bit will get him going. But yeah, I'll take Alex. But you probably should stay away from this one.
Yeah, I'm just gonna enjoy it. Are you leaving right now?
No, I'm having dinner right now.
Oh, all right. But this fucking fight is just so intriguing to me, just because of that unknown factor. Because what I would hate the most and this is an absolute possibility, and for those who say it isn't, don't be fucking stupid. Israel knocks out Alex Pereira. The mouth on this fucking guy for the rest of the fucking year, for the rest of the time he's champion, is going to be pissing me off, dude. Like, oh, I beat the boogeyman. I'm like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, to me, it's just that his shtick has gotten, it's fucking old now. And the guy is phenomenal. He's absolutely talented. It's just that you can't be talking all that shit and not performing. And that's why, I'm not falling for the hype of Alex Pereira, because I know he's got a shit ton of hype. But at plus money, plus 155, for me to find out that if he can knock out Alex or Israel again, knowing that he's got the backing of Teixeira, I'm willing to find out. I'm willing to take that risk on him. Like, to me, though, it's a very close fight. I fully expect Israel to come in here looking better than he has in those last few fights, to actually perform, and maybe even make Alex look a little silly in there. Very possible. But again, I've got faith in the man. A man who this guy's a bad motherfucker, man. He can make blue jeans, a white shirt, a black cowboy hat, and a fucking Magnum look really cool. So I don't know if you've seen that picture of him with the fucking. I hear you slurping, dude.
Sorry, man. Like I said, it's late, and I didn't expect this to be a pay-per-view card, man.
Yeah. All right, we'll leave it there at those slurps.
Yeah.
Oh shit! But fuck it. Izzy's good. Alex is also good. Like, share, subscribe.
What I'm hoping.
Oh shit! That's me. I thought you were making a commentary about how I'm like slurping off Alex Pereira.
Well, what I'm hoping this doesn't turn into is disappoint. I hope this fight doesn't turn as disappointing as the latest season of Cobra Kai with Tyron Woodley in it.
Oh fucking hell! Just stood there and got his ass beaten. I think his fingers got cut off in the later episodes.
Yeah.
What a fucking joke, man. That he could at least say, "Hey, could you not get my ass beat by fucking teenagers?" Nope. Oh,
you could really hear the slurping.
Yeah, I heard the slurping. I was like, "What the fuck, dude?" But yeah, I guess you're right. I was going a little hard on Alex there, but we'll leave it there. It's getting late for me too. But that is Johnny and Jose, Tiger Bomb MMA, breaking down UFC 281. I don't know.
We'll slurp you later.
Yeah, we'll slurp you later. Later.